Hey, what is up, everybody? My name is Jakejames Lugo. Welcome to the channel and welcome to this brand new episode of JJ's One Man Podcast. It's been a minute. I'll tell you right now, it's been a hot minute. I've been a little busy doing a bunch of stuff, and I'm just coming off a Super Bowl time late last night, which was a lot of fun to watch, by the way. But we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Boy, do I have a lot of stuff to talk about today. But as always, make sure you guys leave a like on this video. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Show some love to the Patreon if you can. You can join up for just $1. You get a bunch of exclusive content and all that jazz. But man, do we have a lot of stuff to talk about today, because it's been a wild week and change, give or take. It's been a wild weekend. Even before then, just overall. And I'm pretty sure all of you know exactly what I'm talking about. All of you know exactly what we're going to get into today, because I've been simmering on this for quite a few days for a number of reasons. You know how when you simmer a steak or a nice good chop or a whole bunch of a saute or a skillet where you hear that sound where it's just simmering there? That's what it's been like already for a while for me in relation to this topic. The biggest L of gaming in 2023 has to be everything surrounding Hogwarts Legacy. The release of that game, the reception, the reactions, the whole debate, debacle, discussion, the discourse. Oh my God. It's where do you even begin with this stuff, right? So there's so much to get into, but where do I even start? One thing I will say is that I have my video review proper, coming on to the channel this week. Hopefully, I've been trying to get it done for a while. It's just that not only have I been gathering so much footage of it, but I've also been trying to put everything together to really solidify my thoughts for the video review format. But if you want a clear-cut review without any of the noise of stuff that's been going on with this game, go over on Clownfish TV. I actually wrote up a full review that you guys could go check out right now. It's one of the best reviews of this game on the internet. I could say that confidently. And when you read it, you'll know exactly why. I don't even need to tell you reasons why. I don't even need to say anything. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But let's discuss this game. Let's discuss the whole discourse and the debacle with everything that's been going on with Hogwarts Legacy. And I really do believe that for the games industry, for a lot of the gaming media, a lot of gaming personalities, a lot of people out here, this is the biggest L that people are taking in 2023, hands down. And it's for a number of different reasons. Let me even tell you guys, if you didn't already see, I talked about it on social media. I was on the BBC Radio 4, the radio network Talk 4, for the PM program on the BBC network with Evan Davies. I actually got to talk a little bit about Hogwarts Legacy and the discussion about it. I was opposite of another person, which is the editor-in-chief of The Gamer, that you could go find right now. That I believe the episode is still up. You can go listen to the whole thing in full. Our segment is towards the end, around the 50-minute mark, 50 minutes and 35 seconds, I believe it is. And it's not long, it's short, but you could pretty much get where this is going, okay? But go listen to that segment when you guys can. Go show it some love. But it's a good little capsule of everything that's been going on with this game ever since before its release and during and after its release, including the early release, because I ended up getting the deluxe version of the game. So I had 72 hours access. I didn't get a code from WB Games or Avalanche Studios. I didn't get any of that, okay? But the main thing that I want to talk about is just how crazy, how ridiculous, and how massively, wild people have been acting, and how disappointing this has all been to see play out. I'm not mad. In reality, I should be pissed off, and everybody should be pissed off at everything that's been going on with this game. But it's been getting to the point, or it's gotten to the point for a while, that I'm just massively disappointed. I'm super disappointed in how I've seen people in the industry, a lot of people I respected, a lot of people that I've looked up to and that I've listened to for a long time, just wilding out and just completely just acting a fool in so many ways. One of the biggest things that happened recently, I don't know if you guys saw this, but what happened to girlfriend reviews on Twitch, I believe that she was streaming on Twitch, but the way that people were treating her and treating, her and her boyfriend, the two of them, they're a couple that make this channel called Girlfriend Reviews, and that's their whole premise, is that she's watching her boyfriend play these games and she's reviewing them. And the way that they were just acting in chat, the way that they were being harassed by people in chat, and just the overall reaction to the point where this girl was ending up crying, that you could hear her on the videos that are being passed around. That's, to me, is just what the hell is going on with these people? What is going on with everybody about this game? And then, because we're going to get into it a little bit later, some of the reviews, some of the op-eds, the editorials, and things about Hogwarts Legacy have been really, really just so outlandishly ridiculous and comically bad and comically like, I don't even know if there's like a verb or an adjective to really describe this thing. It's been so like crazy. I didn't think in my entire career covering video games and being part of the games industry as media, as a writer, as a podcast host, and all this stuff, that I would see things like go to a level of this ridiculousness than what I've seen with this game. And it's nuts. The main thing that this all stems from is a lot of the feelings about J.K. Rowling and about the creator of Harry Potter, as opposed to the content of the game itself. A lot of people that are talking about this game and a lot of people that are wilding out about this game, they're not talking about the game itself, which I don't think is right, which I don't think is fair, because a lot of the conversation is driven by that. These people and a lot of the reviews, I mean, even the ones that scored this game very high, which is good because let's be real here. When you read my review, you'll see that this game deserves a high score and deserves a lot of praise for what it's doing, despite all the craziness, right? But a lot of people that are even writing reviews like that, they don't want to talk about the game. They want to talk about J.K. Rowling. And they want to actually talk about like their feelings about her, and let alone the feelings about everything else going on with her, and not about the game. And I've been from the very beginning of all this for weeks. I've been saying that this is not how the conversation should be going. Like, if you're going to review the game and you're going to actually talk about the game, you're going to talk about Hogwarts Legacy, it should be about, the conversation should be about the game itself. That's what everybody should be focusing on. That should be the driving force, and that should be the thesis of every like discussion that's going on with this game. Like, is the game actually good? Is the stuff that's in the game's experience over that 20, 30, 40 plus hours that people will be playing this, is it something that's noteworthy? Is it something that's actually good? Is it game of the year material? Does it suck? Like, that should be the big conversations here. And that's not what all these people want to talk about. And it's a shame, because I've said, for weeks, that the development team over at Avalanche Games or Avalanche Studios and WB Games do not deserve that, because they're being taken to task in a lot of places, which we'll get into, believe me. They've been taken to task and being held responsible or being held over the fire for stuff that they had nothing to do with, that they did not say, that they didn't co-sign, that they didn't bring up, because all this stuff with J.K. Rowling and stuff about Harry Potter and everybody else's feelings about Harry Potter with like all this other stuff, those other people, the media, the reviewers, some of the other like personalities I've seen on YouTube, they're the ones bringing that stuff up. Not once have I even really seen the dev team, when they've talked about their game, ever really bring any of this stuff up. They've addressed it when they've been asked, of course. And I think that they've been very diplomatic, they've been very classy, and they've like really tried to hold their own and handle this with an element of dignity that I have not seen from a lot of other developers. Most of the time they either just won't answer, which is understandable, or they'll give like a lackluster meh answer. And I feel like these people over here, with so much going on like in this storm, like they're in the eye of the storm and they're just like taking it with dignity. And I have to commend them for that. But I also feel that they don't deserve that. What's crazy about this is that so many of the people that are criticizing Hogwarts Legacy or taking a stand with Hogwarts Legacy, which, by the way, I think we all can agree that the boycott that people have been calling for is an absolute failure. This game has sold well over 1 million copies, straight up. I don't know the numbers offhand, off the top of my head. I know it was a ridiculous amount, and I know that on Twitch, the concurrent viewers is the all-time record high of people playing this game at the same time. It's well over 1.3 million people playing this game, and that's not even taking into account all the sales on Steam, all the sales on PlayStation 5, on Xbox Series X, which, by the way, all the deluxe editions of this game prior to the official release. That's not even counting how many games this probably sold the standard edition of people that picked up this game. And then, by the way, they're going to get another wins with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One versions and the Nintendo Switch version in April. So there's even more coming for this game. It's going to sell even more at some point, I'm pretty sure. Especially when some of the other families that don't own the next-gen consoles, they probably own a Nintendo Switch, will probably pick this up. Even if the Switch version doesn't run good, it's still going to contribute to the sales of this game. But my main thing is that this whole boycott, this whole nonsense, this hubbubaloo about this game has been a complete and epic failure. It's like, it really shows you, it shows that like so many people that have said so many different things for a long period of time have completely just gotten their ass shown to everybody. It really kind of puts it in a different type of light, where I think that many individuals now, maybe if they didn't care about Harry Potter, maybe they didn't even really care about this game, but it's been put on Front Street what they're looking at, just the ridiculousness from a lot of different corners of the games industry. And it's a shame. What really got me mad and what really got me annoyed, I shouldn't say mad, but really more annoyed, was that I saw a lot of industry people, I'm talking developers, indie devs, some in AAA, some PR people, and others in biz dev and all these other places really wilding out about this game and saying things that I felt were way over the line and way just uncalled for about some of their colleagues that had worked on this game. And I'm like, if the shoe was on the other foot and it was your game being criticized and being scrutinized and being taken to task like this, you would be feeling a certain type of way. I can't even imagine what that entire team over at Avalanche feels like. And I've said it a couple times for weeks. Like, I really feel bad for them because it's like a lot of them worked their butts off for years, have really, really, really hammered down a lot of effort into this game to make it the experience that it is from what I saw, which is great. And yet, not only is all that hard work and time being completely ignored, it's being taken to task for stuff they didn't even have anything to do with. And by their colleagues and their peers, nonetheless. I'm like, how is that fair? How is that right? And what's even crazier to me, and I talked about this a few times in a couple other podcasts. I'm on record talking about how I don't like this. So you could probably go around and see a couple of the places I've talked about it that I brought it up, where certain people, including devs, I want to make that clear, game developers, have said that they would be okay if people ended up pirating this game. And I'm like, you know what? Y'all are just gone so far beyond the level of ridiculousness and what's acceptable is that I can't even be mad at you anymore. I'm just disappointed and I just like completely check out because I can't find any valid reason why that would be okay to either make a statement like that or to feel like that. Because again, if the shoe was on the other foot and it was your game getting pirated or getting encouraged to be pirated like that, you would have a big problem with it. And I don't think that the developers over at Avalanche really deserve that, straight up. Now, let's talk about some of these other reviews, man, because, oh my God, like the level of mental gymnastics and craziness and just overall immaturity that I've seen. That's the one thing, even before I say all this, I will say that this entire situation, this entire like debacle or discourse about Hogwarts Legacy has really shown me and shown a lot of other people that the games industry and honestly like portions of the professionals in the games industry have not gone a level of maturity in order to tackle conversations like this or to really be seen as a mature industry or a form of entertainment. And the reason why I say that is because even though there's problems in other entertainment mediums and there's other industries that have their own issues and stuff, one thing that you can say is that you'll never see professionals really going at each other's throats like this over something either that they might be very off base with or completely just going off the rails with. And granted, again, there are exceptions. There are exceptions to all that in different industries. But with us in the games industry, we not only get scrutinized as a whole industry for various different things, a lot of times unjustifiably so. But when you look at this situation here and the way that people have talked about others, that have talked about the teams that have made this game, talked about the game in a way that wasn't actually indicative of what the actual content of the game was, we look very immature. We look like children. We look like fools right now. Everybody, and not even the people that are like dogging on this game. I mean, literally the people that are part of these larger websites that claim to be professionals and all this other stuff clearly are acting like complete morons, complete fools. And that's the best way I could really put it. Because it's like, yo, how are you going to sit there and tell me, okay, that a certain group of people, your audience, by the way, for the longest time, again, I'm amazed that this is like happening. You could try to sit there and tell me that your audience is a bunch of whatever names that you want to bring up because I can't even say it on YouTube as how ridiculous it is. But you've gotten even to the point that you're actually not even going to reference the name of this game. Like you're really going to go on social media or go on Discord servers or go on forums, you know, like Reset Era, which I can't even, like, I don't even understand how Reset Era is still a thing. But like, y'all are going to talk about this game and then act like, oh, we can't even speak the name of the game itself. What is it? Hogwarts Legacy is now Lord Voldemort? Are we really serious? Like, this is like elementary level stupidity or like young middle school kid stupidity. It's ridiculous. Like, come on now. We are all adults in here and y'all are acting like children, like in the worst way possible. But anyway, getting back to my original thing I wanted to say, let's talk about these reviews because there are reviews out there that have given the game its justly and deservedly good high score, like 8s and 9s out of 10s, which I think is fair. In my own review, again, read it when you can, but a little bit of a spoiler. I gave it a 9 out of 10, and I felt that was fair because there's such a high level of detail in relation to the wizarding worlds and the amount of stuff you could do and the topography of the actual world you could explore and all these other things that just work so well. The game itself reminds me, or has elements that remind me of The Witcher 3, with the way that its scope is so vast and how much detail and things you could explore and how good it feels to go around and explore that game. It's the same type of thing. That's why I gave it such a high score. And I got really into detail within my review about that. But some of these reviews, again, they don't want to talk about the game. They want to talk about everything else outside of it. They want to talk about their feelings about J.K. Rowling and the Wizarding World. Which, even then, it's not even about the Wizarding World. It's about how they just don't like this person. And you see this in a lot of reviews. I'll tell you one thing right now, and I saw a lot of people giving IGN props for this, and you guys know I love IGN. I wanted to work there for a long time. But with their review of Hogwarts Legacy, I don't feel that they needed to put that disclaimer in there. It's like, you could feel however you want to feel. You can make that statement of what they put in there, which is basically, look, there's a time and place to have that conversation about this other stuff, but also we want to review this game. You can make a stance like that without putting that disclaimer. Because if you really were standing behind that, you would have never made a big deal about this to put that disclaimer. And that's only there because some of your writers apparently, or the staff on there, were either too afraid or had such a problem with this game getting coverage that, again, you had to appease everybody. That's what at least it comes out to me, at least how it appears. And again, the guy who wrote the review for IGN went on a podcast publicly, you could go find it out there, and said that everybody in the office there was afraid to review this game. Why? What is the problem? Your guy's job is to cover games, to review games. Why would you be afraid? Why? Because of the reaction? And I'll tell you right now, it's not the reaction from the audience that everybody's afraid of. Okay, at least what they're afraid of and what it seems to be a lot of industry people are afraid of. They're afraid of the reaction and the blowback from their colleagues, which is a huge, huge problem. That if there's one big problem in the games industry, or at least amongst professionals and gaming media and stuff, it's that. And that's something that's been lingering around for a very long time, and nobody's really willing to address it. And nobody's really willing to sit down and actually figure things out of like, why is this the way that it is? Because that's a big problem. There should be no reason why you can't go and review a video game because you're afraid of the reception and the comments and the ridicule from your peers in the industry. That's a huge problem. Like, really think about that for a second, people. If you're listening to this podcast right now, that is a big problem. By the way, some of those same people that are going to be making an issue about stuff like that are the same ones that will condemn and ridicule other people and try to say, oh, you can't just go out and harass and be nasty towards people on social media. Those are the same people saying that, but they're willing to do that towards some of their peers over this. Come on now, for real. Like, are we really joking? Are we really kidding? But I digress. There was a lot of other places that did something very similar, and I think it was totally unnecessary. A lot of this, to me, seems like it's being done because of SEO. A lot of it seems to be done because they're taking a stance to try to appease everybody, because some places wanted to boycott, but yet they still want to write about the game. They want to get those SEO hits. They want to get the actual traffic that Hogwarts Legacy as a game, because it's so popular right now, is generating amongst people. That's real funny. That's real hypocritical and real funny, and everybody else sees it right now. But that's not the review that we have to talk about. We have to talk about this Wired review, because my God, yo. If you want to talk about absolute failure and absolute nonsense and absolute I can't, again, I'm running out of words to describe this, but I said it on Twitter. If you guys go to the official Wired posts on Twitter about Hogwarts Legacy that they put out there, I put right under there, and it has over 2,000 likes on Twitter. You could go see it. It's got nearly over 50K views, but a bunch of responses and stuff. I came out and said yo, you guys do realize that this review is not only factually inaccurate, but also not actually reviewing the game itself. This is terrible, borderline malpractice. How did y'all publish this? That's exactly what I put on Twitter publicly for everybody to see, because it's true. Wired, in their review, they gave the game a 1 out of 10. And I'm sorry, as someone who's been reviewing games for a very long time, specifically reviewing video games and other forms of media like movies and TV shows, etc., but specifically my bread and butter has always been games, I would know what a 1 out of 10 game is. And after what I just played, again, after playing this game for over 20 plus hours, it's around 25 now after completing the main quest and doing side content and stuff, at least from my game. It should be more for other people. But after playing the game for so long, I could tell you firsthand that this game is not a 1 out of 10. You want to know why Wired scored this a 1 out of 10? Because the writer that they got to do this review cared more about actually giving their own opinion about J.K. Rowling and other stuff and not actually reviewing the game. Let alone when you actually go read the review on Wired, it reads like someone who just did not have an editor that was on hand to actually look at this stuff. Apparently they did, because we'll get into it, but the editor-in-chief of Wired co-signed this entire review, which is an embarrassment. Straight up an embarrassment. It is one of the worst reviews I have ever read in my career, because not only does it come off as an opinion piece that should not be marked as a review, but it does not review the game that it is claiming to review. It is also factually inaccurate to the content of the game. They're making statements in this review that is borderline libel. I can tell you right now, as someone who has played the game straight up, and I'm not the only one that feels that way, because I went on the actual posts of Wired. Besides my comment on there, you have Eric Kane from Forbes on there. You have Mighty Keith, who's commenting on there. You have Vito from YouTube, who's commenting on there. Roberto, who's also another person here. Brian, who's also another person on here. There's all these people doing content about games that are commenting on stuff, that are talking about games overall, are all looking at this and like, yo, what the hell are you guys talking about? Like, how are you going to score this a 1 out of 10? Like, even Eric Kane, looking at his tweet right now because I'm scrolling up and down. I'm looking at the actual tweet thread. Okay. How is this even a game review? Y'all should be deeply embarrassed. Ashamed if you have any shame remaining. I mean, Mighty Keith even put, this whole article reads like a parody. Vito is like, this is a new low for game journalism. I only hope that every game publisher in existence boycotts your outlet after this. You've proven you care more about activism than objectivity. And you can't blame him for feeling like that. You know, I'm someone who doesn't really throw around the term activism or social justice or any of these other things, and that a lot of people now these days like to throw around for one reason or another. And the reason why I don't do that is because sometimes I think that people immediately go to that realm for whatever conversation or debate they're having when you don't necessarily need to do that. You know, when you could actually call things out and see things for what they are. But I can't blame people for feeling that way after reading this review. And the editor-in-chief, like I said, for Wired, okay, Wired, actually came out and co-signed this. He put up a whole tweet saying that this is like something y'all should read and that it's actually good to see what they're saying that this writer wrote, which I'm not going to even give the writer itself any credit because the writer should not be given credit for this review. This is a review that should be retracted. This is a review that should be taken down because it is not a review. It is a unfair, unbiased, unjustified game score or score for a game that clearly is not based in fact. And again, as someone who's played this game, who has reviewed this game already, I can tell you firsthand a lot of the stuff that they're putting in here literally is not right, is not factual about the game's content. Like, look, Wired does this thing where they do Wired and Tired, which is their pros and cons of their reviews. And the only thing that they have in the Wired section for Hogwarts Legacy, it says, it helped me say goodbye to the setting for good. Like, what type of review point is that? You know, and the whole section for Tired, again, they say all this stuff. All the characters are one-dimensional. It doesn't stay true to the established lore. Every character feels like an off-brand version of the characters we know and love. There's no sense of place, no magic, no heart. There's other stuff in there that I can't say on YouTube because unfortunately YouTube doesn't allow you to really say that without getting consequences. But all that stuff is completely wrong, is 100% wrong. Not only is the game rooted in the lore of Harry Potter, big time, the Wizarding World, ridiculous amounts of lore and Easter eggs and fan service and references and stuff that ties in to either both the books and the movies. But there's a lot of characters in here that are, funny enough, many of these people that are complaining about all this stuff should be getting behind. Like when you're talking about diversity in games, diversity of characters, the types of characters, whether it's skin color, orientation, origin, or all these other things, this game is doing the best for diversity in games currently right now in a long time. Straight up. And you mean to tell me that all these people who actually care about this stuff, who are so loud about caring about this type of stuff, y'all are completely ignoring that? Like seriously. There's a wizard, okay, or witch from Uganda that there's a whole quest line that you interact with her that's one of your fellow students. And they talk about a whole other separate school of witchcraft and wizardry that is a little bit different than Hogwarts. You mean to tell me y'all are just going to completely ignore that? Let alone the trans character that you interact with in Hogsmeade. Like, what is... Are we crazy? Like, are we wilding out right here? Are we, like, completely blind to all this? It's like, come on now. Come on, man. Like, what are we doing here? And then let's talk about Tom Coates, because I'm naming this name. This guy, like, I can't even, You could go look it up on Twitter because apparently the guy blocked me after I put up a couple things on Twitter. This guy literally was just going online on Twitter on those threads and just going back and forth with people, not even arguing about everything. He literally just wanted the engagement. This is a person that apparently wrote for Wired and other websites that is acting like a fool. It's like you care more about the engagement, care more about your name getting out there rather than the actual conversation being had. Because I'll tell you right now, I even put it publicly on the thread. You could go look at this under the thread, okay? Where, I was asked about, what is going on with all this after I put out my original thread on there. And he came out and tried to ask me and try to tell me, why is it that I'm making such a big deal about this one writer? What's the big problem? Basically trying to insinuate that the people that are calling this out are having a problem because of the type of person that the writer was, which is very low-hanging fruit to say about someone. But here, I gave him the perfect response. If you don't believe me, you could go look at this publicly. I said, what's going on here is someone who clearly didn't play the game and is reviewing it for a major website, giving a score that is flat out unjustified and not based on facts about the game itself. If you don't see a problem with that, you may want to reevaluate your stance. And everybody else in the thread agreed with me. Straight up. They have replies in there. They have likes on there. Go look. If you don't believe me, go look at it. I dare you. Okay, go look at him now. Go look at his entire thread of what he's been commenting on. Because again, I got blocked. Even though after I put that out there, I never said one thing to this guy. This dude kept tweeting back at me. There was at one point, I remember looking at my notifications, there was over 10 posts plus on top of that, all based on this other nonsense that he was arguing with other people that were calling him out. But you care more about that engagement than the actual game itself getting its fair due. You're trying to sit there and go through these mental gymnastics and defend a point of view, not really a point of view, but an article that was straight up not fair to the game that it was supposedly reviewing, let alone probably one of the worst pieces of journalism / editorial that I have seen in a long time. And again, shame on the editor-in-chief for co-signing that. This guy is an idiot, straight up. This Tom Coates guy is an idiot for trying to defend this because other writers in this industry were even agreeing with me. They were saying this is trash. How can you get behind this? How did y'all publish this? But shame on the editor-in-chief for allowing this to go out there. Straight up. No editor-in-chief that actually cares about the content of their website, let alone the integrity of their website, would ever publish something like this. It's crazy. And let me also bring up something else too. Hey, shout out to the Iron Lords podcast, to Lord Cog and all the people over there. Because I listen to Iron Lords. I also listen to Divining Duke, and they brought up a lot of interesting points in the conversation because they had a whole conversation there about this game and about the discourse with it. So go listen to that when you get a chance. But they brought up a couple things where I feel like a lot of these people care more about looking good towards their friends and looking good towards their little bubble of people rather than actually the integrity of either their websites or the integrity of the industry. And that is totally true. They didn't say it exactly like that, but they kind of, hinted at that, in their discussion. It was a longer discussion. But they brought that up, and it's 100% true. They also brought up the fact that a lot of people are really afraid of the backlash or the blowback from not taking a stance that's similar to their peers that are doing stuff like this, and they're fearing for their jobs. I can tell you firsthand, I've gotten blowback, and I've gotten some very volatile or hostile, I guess you could say, reactions or actions done towards me that have not been cool because I've taken the stance that I've taken about this game. And it has nothing to do with J.K. Rowling. And I don't care about J.K. Rowling. I don't care about anything with that discussion going on. My whole thing about this entire discourse was the game itself, the way that it was being treated, and the way that the developers were being treated. And everybody else is feeling a different type of way with everything else that has nothing to do with the game. That was always my stance. And they're 100% right. A lot of these other people are just afraid of getting that blowback. You saw it with the person that came out and did the review for IGN. They admitted that. You've seen that with a bunch of other places on Twitter, on social media, and everybody sees it for what it is. This Wired review is clearly the epitome of what can go wrong will go wrong with stuff like this. And it's a shame because Wired, I know for years have had a really prestigious name and had a good reputation in technology, mostly with tech stuff, not just specifically games, but a lot of things involving technology and entertainment that's in relation to it. And this type of thing shows you that you cannot go to Wired anymore for any legit reviews, for any credible, detailed, and insightful reviews. You can't go to them for that. And on anything, it makes you question every single thing that they've put out there up to this point. The person that they got to review this game, I'll tell you right now, let alone they weren't qualified to review games, they were reviewing sex toys prior to this, and that's all they wrote about. But they got this person to write the review for one of the biggest game releases of 2023. I'll tell you why this happened. It's probably because the other writers on Wired either refused to do it or they were afraid to do so. And that tells you something about Wired, to be honest with you. It's like, can you get your troops and get your people in line and actually get you all on the same page and actually do the jobs that you said that you're supposed to do over there? Because this writer should have never wrote the review for this game. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of people have called for it, and I don't always go to this, but I can understand why people are saying this, that Metacritic should totally revoke their status on there as a review outlet that's weighted. Because Wired has reviews on about games on Metacritic, but after this is clear review bombing and clearly something that should not be considered credible and should be totally removed from the conversation about this game, straight up. And again, I totally get where people are coming from after reading this review. You go and you read it whenever you get a chance, okay, if you want your own opinion and stuff, but you'll see exactly where I'm coming from, where a lot of other people are coming from, because man, it is a damn shame to see such an outlet like this that has such a name and a reputation fall so hard for over this nonsense. It's crazy. And the other peeps, like the Tom Coates guy and some of the other people out there that are trying to say something about those reacting to all this, trying to insinuate that, oh, they don't like certain communities and stuff, y'all are crazy. Because it's not about that, okay? For believe it or not, the gaming community and the gaming industry in general, a lot of them are very welcoming to all types of communities, including the community that's very loud about this right now. Because not everybody in that community seems to agree about this stuff, about this game. You know, there's a lot of discourse back and forth, and some people are wilding out, giving that community a bad name. And I feel for them because it's like, yo, like nobody out here is really trying to beef with each other. Nobody's out here is trying to get into like a shouting match or back and forth. But some of these crazy people are just wilding out, and they need to do better. They need to be more mature. They need to go get some maturity from somewhere in order to find out like how to actually have discourse and how to treat people fairly and how to treat game releases like this and teams who develop AAA games a whole lot fairly. But anyway, that's a lot. I know I've been going on for a while, but there's so much with this game, and I still think it's going to keep going. It's still going to go even further with a lot of this stuff. But let me know some of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Tell me, what did you think about Hogwarts Legacy if you got a chance to pick it up and play it? What do you think about the back and forth, the discourse with everything going on with this game? The Wired review, the other reviews related to Hogwarts Legacy? How are you guys feeling about that? Put it in the comment section down below. Of course, as always, make sure you leave a like on this video. Comment, like I said just now. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And with that being said, I will talk to all of you again very soon. Peace out and stay epic, everybody.